Hi friends and welcome to Japan. We are in Niseko and it is in the northern end of Japan. We've come here for some skiing and then we're going to move on to somewhere else afterwards, but it is just beautiful here. It is a very different climate to what I came from. On our last day in Perth, it was 40 degrees Celsius. It was a stinking hot day. We got on a plane, we landed in Tokyo and then we got into Niseko on the same day on another flight. We had a lot of travel. And it was a maximum of 0 degrees Celsius for that entire day. So it has been an adjustment. We're having to wear a lot more layers than we're used to. It's really nice to be in Japan. So I've had a bit of a morning to myself, so I decided to do a little bit of journaling. I really love being able to look back and see all the things that we did. This is my journal I got for 2025. It's this beautiful leather-bound lined journal from a company in Melbourne, I think, Il Papiro Firenze. So it's actually it's made in Italy, but they have a store in Melbourne, and it's this beautiful leather, gorgeous pages. So that's my journal that I'm writing in, and what I'm trying to do differently this time is actually write about all the food that we're eating and try and put in a little bit more of the minutiae. So, for example, the strawberries in Hokkaido are world renowned because apparently they grow them year-round in these really controlled conditions. And the strawberries are just so red and so plump and so juicy and sweet. But I believe they have a high nutritional value as well for some reason. So I've been enjoying those. Some of them are so renowned that I think there is a particular type of strawberry from this region that is sold in the States, and it's almost something like $24 per strawberry. It's kind of insane. And I bought a punnet of strawberries the other day because I couldn't not try it. So I bought them, and I think the equivalent, I think it was around 2,500 yen. And so the equivalent, it's almost about $25 Australian for that, which is insane. About $3 per strawberry, but they were delicious. So it wasn't quite worth the money, but they were one of the most beautiful strawberries I'd tasted. So that's just an example. There's that. And then the types of food we're eating. Like the other night we went to a food truck. There's a number of food truck areas in Niseko. It seems to be quite a culture where you can go to different areas. There's maybe 4 or 6 different food trucks and you can choose different cuisines. And we went to one the other night, which we had tempura. I had tempura oysters, which also came with some tempura vegetables, which was amazing. And then we had some gyozas. So I'm really trying to enjoy these little street food type things that we're getting, and it's a lot of fun. Something I haven't yet tried that I did buy and it looked too adorable to pass up was this beautiful little strawberry milk. It actually has real strawberries in the bottom, and it's this Hokkaido milk, which is apparently quite revered as well. And the Hokkaido milk is quite sweet, and I normally don't drink dairy. I normally stick to like nut milks. But I'm going to give this a go because how could you not? So beautiful. So we'll try it together. That is so sweet. And I've got no idea what other ingredients are in there because it's all written in Japanese. That is delicious. It's really, really good. So I'm glad I tried that. But those are the sort of things we're doing, is we're just experiencing different things. So we've got a large group of us here. There is myself and my husband along with our daughter and her family. So her husband and her 2 children, which includes our brand new grandson who was only 5 weeks old. And there's also their friends who are a couple with 2 young children as well. So we're in this one accommodation, which has this beautiful view over the mountain. And generally what's been happening is in the morning, the guys have been going off doing their snowboarding, and then we'll meet them for lunch we'll go up on this gondola and go meet them for lunch, and then we'll just potter around the town. But today the kids are actually going to start doing their own ski lessons, so that's going to be fun to watch as well. This is our 3rd last day, I guess, in town. We've got 2 more full days before we travel to Tokyo, which we're going to continue our holiday there. So before I head out and meet everyone else for lunch, I wanted to share with you some of the books that I have been reading. I bought 4 books with me that were very, very much mood-driven books, I think, for this location. And I've started 2 of them, and the other 2 I haven't quite gotten to yet, but probably when I'm hoping to pick up again in Tokyo and give you a bit of an update on that. But the 2 books that I have been reading are Snow Country by Yasunari Kawabata and Blackwood's Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey. And these have been really good. I've definitely been living in this book a lot more. It has been quite gripping. Eowyn Ivey was the author of The Snow Child, which is a very, very popular book. But Blackwood's Blue Sky, it's her latest book, and it is a really interesting story. There's definitely an element of fairy tale to Eowyn Ivey's stories, and this one is no different. This is really quite quite gripping. So I'm about halfway through at the moment, and so far in this story, what we've done is we've met our main character, Birdie, who is a single mother with a daughter named Emmeline. And Birdie is not, I wouldn't say down on her luck, but she is most definitely just going through the daily grind, trying to raise her daughter, trying to be a good mum, but also she's a young person, and she's trying to live her life the way she wants to. She maybe drinks too much in the evening, and then she brings her daughter to her shifts when she's working. So she's just trying to do what she can to get by in a town that is quite tough. They're in Alaska. She had a very tough upbringing herself, where her mother abandoned her and her sister, and so she's had to grow up very, very fast. But then she meets a man named Arthur, and Arthur is a bit of a recluse. People avoid him, people don't know much about him because he kind of keeps to himself. He really stays up in the mountains and only comes into town occasionally. And people think he might be mentally challenged. Anyway, he and Birdie strike up a friendship. And eventually Arthur has invited Birdie to go and live with him in his cabin up on this mountain. So it's just the three of them, Emmeline, Birdie and Arthur. And Birdie's answer is yes. She is ready to just get away from it. She is definitely looking forward to living off-grid. She wants to get away from those ties that we have in our society, you know, that you have to do this and you have to do that. And she just wants to go and live her life amongst the trees and do what she wants to do without any judgment. She's definitely a nature lover, and so when she says yes to Arthur and they all go to live in his cabin, she realizes that things are a lot harsher than she was expecting. And Arthur has something very unusual about him, and Birdie and her daughter start to uncover this secret, I guess, that Arthur has that they didn't realize the extent of it. And it's so beautifully written. There's a number of point of views in here so far. There is Birdie's point of view, Emmeline's, and also Arthur's adopted father, Warren. I think Eowyn Ivey's done a really great job in changing the narration per person. Emmeline's narration is really childlike, which is a great element. But I'm enjoying this. We're just starting to uncover all of Arthur's secrets, and Birdie is adjusting to this new life, and I'm really enjoying this. This is quite enthralling. And the other one I have on the go is Snow Country. I definitely wanted to bring a Japanese author with me if I could, and I haven't read much Japanese authors. And this is a very, very short story. It is only 120 pages, and this is a very, very differently written to Blackwood's Blue Sky. It's most definitely literary fiction, but some of the writing is just so, so beautiful. It is really quite haunting and strange, and I'm not sure if it's due to the translation or if this is how it would read if I was to read it in Japanese. I'm only a short way into it at the moment, maybe 20%. The story is about a man named Shimamura. He's taken a train from the city through the snow into the mountains in the west of Japan, and he is seeking a geisha. And this is the synopsis. Shimamura is tired of the bustling city. He takes the train through the snow to the mountains of the west coast of Japan to meet with a geisha he believes he loves. Beautiful and innocent, Kamako is tightly bound by the rules of a rural geisha and lives a life of servitude and seclusion that is alien to Shimamura. Their love offers no freedom to either of them. I believe this won a Nobel Prize in Literature. The writing is really quite lovely, and this is just an example. The woman was silent, her eyes on the floor. Shimamura had come to a point where he knew he was only parading his masculine shamelessness, and yet it seemed likely enough that the woman was familiar with the failing and need not be shocked by it. He looked at her. Perhaps it was the rich lashes of the downcast eyes that made her face seem warm and sensuous. She shook her head very slightly, and again a faint blush spread over her face. Something about the writing just makes you want to read passages over and over again to absorb it. It's like he's almost writing with a colour that starts to unfold and get brighter and brighter each time you read those passages. It is a little abstract at times, when you're not sure who he's talking about. Like, I think he's come across a couple of women and he's just referring to them as she or her. And so I have to keep going back and see, wait, is this a new character or is this the same one that he met first? So it has been a little confusing in that sense. Unfortunately, Kawabata took his own life. He was born near Osaka in 1899. And he's written a few books. I think there's also another one called A Thousand Cranes or Thousand Cranes. And that one plus Snow Country really brought him this international recognition. And sadly, he took his own life when he was around 73 years old. So it sounds like quite a painful life that he had. He was orphaned at 2. But anyway, I'm reading this one as well at the moment, and it is quite lovely. And this is perfect to pop in my bag while we're going out to the little ski lodges and everything. So these are the 2 books that I've got on the go right now. I do have 2 more, and I'm looking forward to getting to them. I think I'll probably finish these before we leave Niseko, and then I'll be able to pick up the other ones on the rest of our trip. So I'm going to get on with my day, and we're going to go and hit the ski fields again and go and eat some delicious Japanese food, which I am really enjoying. And I will catch up with you again in Tokyo. Hey guys, I'm clearly not in Tokyo, I am back at home. I did try and do a video in Tokyo, but it was really hard to find the time during the day to do it, and at night the lighting in our hotel room was awful and I just could not bring myself to share those videos that I did record. So I'm going to do a little bit of a ending to this vlog here, back home, where we arrived last night, and I'm just going to share with you a little bit more about our holiday and then get into the books that I read. First of all, we stayed in Tokyo for 4 nights after we were in the snow, and we stayed in the Ginza district, my husband and I, in this really cool little hotel, and I really loved it. We had stayed in the Shinjuku area in our last trip to Japan, but Ginza I had heard wonderful things about. It was everything I wanted it to be. It is quite a high-end shopping area. You know, it has all your luxury retailers, but it also is just a really lovely place to walk around, has some great restaurants, and we had such excellent luck with food. We ended up at this little restaurant I had heard about through a food blogger I follow in Melbourne who had been to Japan recently, and they shared this particular tonkatsu restaurant where the pork is just so different to anything we get in Australia. This particular restaurant has some sort of breed of pork that they use, which is I think it's called LYB, and it's like a cross between a Lancashire, Berkshire and something else, and it has led to this really marbled pork, which is similar to like a Wagyu kind of look, and it's unlike anything we would get here. And anyway, that was the star of this particular meal, was that particular katsu, and it was just such a fun experience. It was a tiny little restaurant with only 9 seats in it, but we had such a lovely time there. They were so lovely. And one of the other highlights for us was just this little dumpling place that we stumbled across, and it seemed to have a lot of locals in there, so we decided to go in there and try it, and that was a lot of fun as well. The dumplings were excellent, some of the best that we've ever had. I think that might have been my husband's favorite meal, where mine might have been the katsu. Otherwise, the things we were doing in Tokyo was a bit of sightseeing. I definitely wanted to get a few things. I wanted to buy some things, some kitchenware items, some things that I could use in my home, things like pottery and stuff like that. So we went to the Kappabashi district, which is like the kitchen district. It's a street just full of shops that service kitchenware, and it has a lot of pottery, it has steelware, it has knives. We went there to buy a knife specifically, and then I also bought a few ceramics and pottery items that I had on my wish list that I really wanted. And the prices are just so good that it is well worth it for me to try and buy that stuff and bring back some things that I will use here in my home. Lastly, one of the things that I did on one of these days was I went to a Japanese head spa with my stepdaughter, and it was incredible. I didn't really know what to expect. It's one of those things that becomes a bit viral and you're not sure really how it's going to work out. It's like 110 minutes of just having someone work on your hair, and it was so good. It was a head massage, a neck and shoulder massage. There was multiple masks put on your head. They do like a consultation on your scalp condition, and they will tailor their product that they're using to suit your scalp, and then they'll recommend products after. It was so good, so worth it, especially after being in the snow and helping look after the kids and all that sort of thing. So I highly recommend the Japanese head spa experience if you are ever in Japan. I think if we go back, I will make sure that I do it in the last few days of any trip to Japan. So let's get into the books that I finished reading while I was in Japan. And the first one I want to chat about is Snow Country by Yasunari Kawabata. When I shared this with you before, I had just started reading it and I really wasn't sure where it was going to go. And unfortunately, this was not a win for me. I really struggled with the dialogue, with the writing. It felt like a series of riddles at times. Like the lead character would ask a question of someone else and they would just ignore the question and say something completely random. And I don't know if that's just not me reading between the lines and not being smart enough for literature like this. This was a Nobel Peace Prize winning piece of literature, but it became like it was riddles and I kept having to go back and read things over and over again. I didn't connect with the main female lead, Komiko. I was on the brink of not liking her, more so than not understanding her. And I think it's a very character-driven book, and it was only until the last quarter of the book where there started to be a little bit of plot development where that helped to speed up, give a bit of momentum to the story and keep me engaged. I just couldn't connect with it. And so this story is about a man who is very unhappy with his life and he lives in the city, and he goes to the snow country and he takes a train through the snow country of West Japan to meet this geisha that he believes that he loves. And I thought that was a really interesting premise as to how she became a geisha, why she became a geisha. It's just something that is really interesting to me, is why women would go into this role. But then she just drank all the time and she was very unhappy, and I just don't understand it. I really don't understand it. It says that Snow Country is both delicate and subtle, and it reflects the unspoken love and the understated passion of the young Japanese couple. And it is most definitely understated. This is not like big bells and whistles, but I just don't know. I think maybe if I read it again, I might get a bit more from it because I understand a little bit more about the plot and the characters and what is going on. And I'm not sure if what was happening was a translation issue for me, but unfortunately it was not a win for me. I will definitely give it a go again in the future. It is such a small book, it is not a big commitment to do that. As reflective as this was of where I was when I was reading it, unfortunately it was a bit of a miss. There were a few moments where there was some lines that made me think of things that I was experiencing, where there was a line in here about where Shimamura is hearing this water dripping or this water, and he thought it was rain, but it was the icicles melting. And I experienced that. I was standing there at one point and I thought, is that rain happening or is there a creek? And it was the icicles dripping as the weather was getting warmer. And that was nice. It's lovely when those things happen in a book, but a bit of a miss for me. However, when I read Black Woods, Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey, this was phenomenal. It was such a great story. This kept me gripped from the first page, and it was the book that I wanted to pick up the most. Absolutely. It was so engaging from start to finish, and I think I will ponder on the ending of this story for a long time. It has fairy tale and folklore elements in here, and I really loved the change of narration. There were 3 narrators at one point in the first half of the book, which was Birdie, Emmeline is Birdie's daughter, and Warren. So you had 3 different perspectives that were giving you 3 different, very different stories. Warren was giving you a lot of information about a particular character in Birdie's life that we didn't know anything about. He really did not speak a whole lot. He was very reclusive. And so Warren gave that storyline to us about Arthur's background. And it was just a really great mix up. Emmeline is around 6 in this story at the start. And I think that the narration for Emmeline was fantastic. The way that she spoke was very much childlike. The way that she thought was childlike. And I thought that was really, really well done. It is simultaneously haunting as well as beautiful. When I first heard about this book, I heard that it was to be likened like a bit of a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And so I kept waiting for a little bit of magic to happen in there. So I would say if you go into this story, don't expect it to be a true Beauty and the Beast retelling. It is definitely about loving people for who they are, regardless of their faults. It's probably a 5-star read for me. There is I could not tell you another story that is like it. It is just so beautiful. And then the last book that I actually finished on the airplane coming home was Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. This was another unique book for me. It's my first O'Farrell, and so I don't know if the writing of this book is how O'Farrell writes in general. And it feels a little bit PC at times, where it was just sometimes a 3-word sentence and another 4-word sentence, and it can be a little bit PC. But I found the way that she wrote the dialogue of people was so astute. There was something so wise about what she was saying. Like, I'm going, that's exactly how that feels when you fall in love, or maybe when you're grieving somebody. I was just so taken aback with some of the ways that she would articulate that in a dialogue of someone. In particular, especially when it came to the grieving process of Agnes for Hamnet, and the way that she found it very difficult to get past her grief. And if you're someone who has gone through grief, I think you will understand this. This person is now lost to her forever. She is someone adrift in her life who doesn't recognize it. She is unmoored, at a loss. She is someone who weeps if she cannot find a shoe, or overboils the soup, or trips over a pot. Small things undo her. Nothing is certain anymore. That moment of small things undo her. I felt like that was such an apt description of the grieving process, that everything is okay, or you were moving on, and then something small happens and you just lose it. It is so true. And there were other moments like this the story, we are told in the synopsis on the back that Hamnet is going to die. We know that that is going to happen. It is not a spoiler, it is not a surprise. But the surprise for me was, even though we knew that was going to happen, I was still so engaged in that moment leading up to Hamnet's death that I was like, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? But I knew what was going to happen. That was quite interesting I felt that page-turning fever that you get. The prose is really unique, that at first it took me quite a few chapters to get into it, where it has a little bit of a dual timeline. It has the timeline of Hamnet before he dies and then after he dies, and then it has another timeline of his parents, who is Agnes and the playwright Shakespeare. Interestingly, the author Maggie O'Farrell never names Shakespeare by name. She doesn't call him Will, William, anything. It's always the father, the teacher, the writer, the playwright. It's never by his name, which was quite interesting. And I don't quite understand why she did that. But the love story of him and Agnes before they had children, Agnes's story is beautiful. Agnes's character was just so wonderful. I really loved her character. She's probably one of my favorite. But it is definitely moving. It is deeply moving, and I think I will enjoy reading this again in the future. Like I said, the internal dialogues of these characters is really quite mesmerizing in the way that you can put yourself in that situation, even though this is about a family from the 1600s, 1596. Yeah, there's just so many elements that go into this story, but I loved it. I really did. And I'm really interested to pick up another Maggie O'Farrell in the future and see if this is just her prose, if this is how she writes. And she is so knowledgeable, and I really would be interested to know how has she gone through a grieving process for a child, because the way she wrote it was just so raw and real. And I haven't lost a child, but I've lost a dear family member, and I would like to know if she has experienced that herself and if this is her working her way through that. One book I did not finish but I did start was The Winter Soldier by Daniel Mason. I got a little bit of, not too far into this, but I am enjoying it. I love Daniel Mason's prose. It's really great. So I will continue to read that this month, even though I am now back in Australia and we are at the end of our summer and we have like a 40-degree weekend coming up. So this one I think I'm going to enjoy as well. So that would make it quite an excellent month with these two and this one. And I have another book that I read at the start of this month, which I'll share with you later. But that is my Tokyo vlog. I don't know how this is going to come together, but hopefully it does. And I hope you enjoyed this little journey with me. We had a wonderful trip. It was a lot of fun. But I am looking forward to getting into late summer here. We're going to come into autumn. My vegetable garden is overgrown. It needs a lot of attending. I have a lot of books that need my attention, and I am looking forward to sharing them all with you in the future. So thanks for joining me on this little vlog, and I will speak with you soon. Bye.